start recording here. Perfect. So we'll get started. Looks like our attendees popped in. I'm not sure how many of you were on here with us last week and how many are you stepping in, maybe missed last week, or maybe this is your first time joining us. So last week we kind of came up with the idea around email campaigns. So that seems to be a large topic. A lot of you guys want to be doing e-campaigns, but don't really know where to start or how to put together emails necessarily. Like you do, but you know what you want to say, but not sure how to put it, kind of thing, right? So we did a collaborative. So some of you did submit some examples of emails that you were considering putting into a campaign or did have in a campaign. And so the whole idea was that we kind of build a campaign or a potential campaign or parts of a campaign as a group, and then also taking what you guys submitted, and Tara was gracious enough to go in and edit some of those emails that were submitted, just to kind of show you how you can tone it down and simplify those emails, because again, we want to stay short, sweet, to the point, while still adding that value in there. And again, it comes back to, the realisticness of those emails. We want people to feel like, even though it's part of a campaign, that you actually took the time to send it. And so when we have really long-winded emails sometimes, it becomes a little bit more obvious that you didn't just actually sit down and personally write them that message, that it is part of some sort of a drip that they've been put on. So
yeah. So I think, the submissions that we got were fantastic. And this is why this is probably one of my favorite that we've done so far, although I love doing all of them, is the whole concept upon trying to convert leads is getting people to correspond with us. And the way they correspond is through an email drip on top of your other touches that you're doing, whether it's phone calls or whatever. But remember, we're doing this as a group. So this might be something, with everybody's permission, that we can all share, we can all use together and create our own drip campaign. But remember, these emails, and when we go and watch how I edited them, it's because my goal in every email that I send out is to give them a little bit of info, not the whole farm, because I want them to reply to me to want more. So I think, Crystal, are we going to kind of go through each email, what was submitted? Some really great emails were given to us. And then we'll kind of explain why I did the edit the way I did. And this is exactly why, even before we signed on today, I had another lead respond telling me she'd like to start seeing houses with me in September. So this is exactly the reason you're seeing it full force, right? On why I'm successful, because you're actually now getting into the brain of Tara. That's a pretty crazy, scary thought.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Awesome. And I'm going to post the Google Doc again in here, so you guys do have it. For those of you that may have arrived after I posted the link. So it's just there again in the chat for you. And then what I'll do here, Tara, is I'll share my screen and I'm gonna go from there. Pull it all out.
Okay.
Alrighty. So we'll go all the way to the top. So these aren't in any order. I just kind of copied them. So as they're coming in, it says email 4. It does not mean that that is the 4th email that would go in a campaign. It was just to segregate and separate them so everyone was able to see it. So the original email, so we have the original followed by Tara's revision. And I'll read the original. How about you read your edit? How does that work?
Sure. Okay.
Perfect. Awesome. So with this one, Amanda had sent it in. There was no subject. It was just the body of it. So this is an email that she's spoken to a lead, and they have indicated that they are not ready, right? So you may not be ready just yet, and that's okay. Many first-time buyers begin looking for a home 2 years before they actually buy. I just wanted to let you know that I'm here to assist you and answer any real estate questions anytime. I'm here for my clients before, during, and long after a home purchase to make sure they are well informed and never feel alone in the process. I want to be there when questions come up and to be your first source for all the real estate information. While you're gathering information, you may need a referral for a mortgage broker, financial advisor, or any other professional in the real estate industry. I can help with that too. You can also check out my website at amandadavisrealty.com for helpful resources and information. I look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, really good email. Really, really good. Okay. So what I did was I looked at it, and now this would be the way I would send this email out. So looking at her content, my subject line is, it's okay to take your time, right? It's all good. So in the body, thanks for taking the time to speak to me the other day. I truly appreciate that you aren't ready to buy or sell yet. It's important not to rush into anything when it isn't the right time for you. I wanted to let you know that it's typical for some buyers to take up to 2 years to buy a home. I'm not here to pressure you. I just want to let you know that I'm here to assist you along the way. You may find that you have some real estate questions, and my job is to be here before, during, and long after a home purchase. It's essential that you stay informed and you never feel alone in the process. I work with the best preferred partners in the business, from mortgage brokers, home inspectors, financial advisors, etc. Please don't hesitate to let me know, and I can pass along their info to you. Feel free to reply to this email or text me anytime if that's easier at blank. I'm always here to help. So a couple of things. I didn't bother putting the website in there as Amanda had it in there because the website is usually always on our signature line, right? So that's why I took that out. So this is how I took all of the things that she said, Crystal, and I kind of went, okay, we just need a little bit of a better flow with a little bit more directness without a lot of the fillers. Yeah.
And it definitely comes across as a lot more compassionate and understanding to their situation. And I feel like this would be a lot easier to open up to somebody and respond to it just the way it's worded.
Right.
It's not.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And you know, always remember that our subject line is probably the most important thing to get somebody to open it up. Right.
Absolutely.
So it took me a while, in all honesty, as I was reading over and over and over Amanda's email. And I know Amanda, and she is just a brilliant realtor. And I'm like, okay, what is the best line? And that's what I came up with. If somebody has different ideas, don't hesitate to let us know in the chat column. But I think it would be a perfect email to add to our drip campaign that we're all building together. You know, and all we have to do, Crystal, is just take out that first line. Thanks for taking the time to speak to me the other day, right?
Yes,
we eliminate that, and we just basically say, I appreciate that maybe you're not ready to buy or sell yet.
It's also a great email to have as an email template. So when you do have a conversation with somebody that, you know, whether it's for an initial drip or a follow-up drip, that you're kind of putting it in there based on their situation, right? So you had a conversation, send it out after. It's okay to take your time.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you, Amanda, for sending this because it's brilliant. It's brilliant, her content.
Right. Awesome. And then we'll go on to the other one. So
and I can't see the chat because we're looking at this. So
it should highlight. We don't have anything in the chat, but you guys, if you do have a question or a suggestion or any kind of feedback or thoughts on what you're reading, by all means, throw it in there. If you feel it's easier to actually speak what you're thinking, just raise your hand and I'll give you the ability to talk. Yeah. Sometimes it's,
Yep. Remember,
hard.
this is interactive, guys, right? And this is why we're doing this, so that we're trying to, show you guys where my mind is when I start creating emails, and how creating your own personal drip campaign is really just as easy as this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's reading it. Like, I'll write something myself, and then how many times you go back and you reread it again, and then you tweak it, and then you tweak it, and then you tweak it because it just doesn't flow, or, I just eliminate that sentence that doesn't need to be in there. So,
right.
And sometimes even just having another set of eyes look at it for you as well, right? That
For
can
sure.
have an impact.
Yeah.
So Ava here submitted this email with the subject of, what are some key items buyers should keep in mind? So purchasing a home might seem overwhelming, especially if it's your first time. Feeling this way is totally normal. One of my primary goals as a real estate agent is to help folks feel comfortable and confident with the process. And on that note, I'm going to highlight some of the main items to keep in mind. Take a look, and don't hesitate to let me know if you have any questions. Financing. Unless it's a cash purchase, you'll want to meet with a mortgage broker lender to start the pre-approval process. It's very beneficial to be pre-approved before you start looking at homes, so we can focus on properties within budget. If you're not currently working with a mortgage broker, I have trusted partners I'd be happy to connect you with. Know the difference between a deposit and a down payment. A deposit is your sign of good faith to the seller, required to be paid within 24 hours of an accepted offer, usually by certified check or bank draft. Amount usually reflects the price. The higher the price, the larger the deposit. No standardized amount is set. It can become one of the negotiables. We will be held in trust by the liquor listing brokerage until close. A down payment, your lump sum payment presented as a certain percent of the purchase price. It's paid on closing, ideally 20%. Anything under 20% requires the abatement of a mortgage loan insurance. If you don't have to have 20%, that's okay. Minimum allowed down payment is 5%. A few additional upfront costs to keep in mind: home insurance and appraisal fees, land registration fees, real estate lawyer fees, title insurance, and home inspection. I hope this gives you a basic overview of some of the key items to be aware of, and I'm always here and happy to help. Reach out with anytime with any questions.
Perfect. I love the content here. I remember when Ava made this email quite a few months ago. And remember, these are really important points for people purchasing, whether first-time buyers or not, to know. So let's look and see how I revised it and why I revised it. Okay. Perfect. So clearly what I did was I condensed it, because Ava's email was the best email, a lot of great facts, but right away it was too long. And what I'm looking at, all of these facts, Crystal, is I'm like, I need to have a document or a guide, a buyer's guide that has this in here that I can now produce to the people. Yeah. So what I wanted for Ava in this email was I wanted to introduce this guide. I don't think I called it a guide in here, but now I wished I had of, because now I want people to reply to the email so I can send them this information. So the subject line, I loved your subject line: important key items for buyers in today's market, right? So one of my primary goals as a real estate agent is to help folks. I love that she used the word folks. I think it's really personal. That's just my opinion, to feel comfortable and confident in the process of buying and selling. It can be overwhelming, especially for first-time buyers. I'm excited to let you know that I have a specialized information sheet. I would now change that to guide, as I thought of the word as we were talking, designed to highlight the main items to keep in mind. Included in this guide, you will be able to define the difference between the down payment, a deposit and down payment. Take out the question mark. That's my fault. Have you ever wondered what they are, and why they're important in a real estate transaction. How important is the financing condition? What other things do you need when you are buying and selling? What is an appraisal? Do you need title insurance? What conditions are offers including now in this latest market shift? I would be honored to share this guide with you. Simply reply to this email and I will send you the full PDF. Feel free to reach out to me anytime or text me if that's easier. You can reach me at. So that's my revision to Ava's. So we're giving that little tease of all those wonderful things that these people need to know. And then what we want them to do is to reply back and go, you know what, Ava, I'd really like to have that guide. And then she can immediately reply, love your edits. She can immediately then reply back, send them the PDF, and keep that conversation going, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Your thoughts, Crystal?
No, I think it's definitely a lot more. It's still pointing out those key facts that people would definitely want to know or be interested in without spewing it all into one email. And it's encouraging them to say, hey, yeah, I would like to see a copy of that, right? So we're not just throwing a bunch of stuff that we know that they're may not read, because again, if the emails are too long, we all have very short attention spans, I find these days. So for presented with a long email, sometimes we just close it and then we're like, oh, look at that later, and then don't actually have to look at it. So I think it's great that how you've put something together and the importance of those things, and often the questions that could be arising as you're going to move forward with the home purchase. And then again, just putting, and keeping it current. So this is something where now it's a market shift, where you may have to go back again and kind of tweak this a little bit if, we're kind of out, or rewording just even that one thing to kind of accommodate the current market.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
the point to every email is we want to give them a little bit of info, because we want them to be able to reply back no matter what email we're sending out. And I'm really excited for this. So Ava, start creating that guide, because you basically got all of the great information. Now we want to put it together in, even on Microsoft Word, put a little flashy stuff on it and make a PDF, because now you have an amazing email to be used in your drip.
And again, it's you're putting the effort in, more or less in the most amount of effort, I should say, in the beginning while you're creating everything. But once it's created, the amount of maintenance that you're going to need is very minimal, because it's just, tweaking it based on open rate, request rate, whatever it might be, to see, and targeting towards, how your leads are responding to it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. It's very exciting for me.
Yeah. So Ava says, love your editor. Their prompt reply. The idea, don't mention the guy for them to request from me, is a great idea. Thank you. She also replies, she has one. Didn't think to mention it in here the way you've done it. So that's there.
Perfect. Perfect.
And then Lily is asking, do you have a sample of the guide you would provide? Is it a big or simple sheet? Like, are you creating like a multi-page document when you're doing it, Tara, or do you just have it all confined into one different sheet, or multiple, depending on what it is?
Something like this, what I would be doing is, Ava's already got a couple of the points, the financing, the difference between the down payment, the deposit, and so forth. Start thinking of buyers and what exactly the buyers are going to need. And then I would do a buyer one. I would just create it in Word, or even Microsoft Publisher is a good one to use. Make it as a PDF, but do the same thing on the seller side, right? Some of the things that are important for sellers to know. And that way you've always got those available. Simply, but again, don't give away the farm. We want them to ask for it, right?
You bet.
So that's what gets the communication going. Perfect. I love it.
Austin, I seen you put your hand up. Did you want to talk, or did you decide not to talk anymore?
Who was it?
Austin.
Oh. Oh, well,
Oh,
keep going.
no.
Might be my
Snooze, lose. No.
yeah.
So here's another one that we had submitted by Amanda. No subject. This one is your first name. How are you enjoying your summer? I love the summer. Anyway, I just wanted to touch base with you about the market. I'm sure you've seen how the market has changed lately. 6 months ago, there were bidding wars on everything, and now beautiful homes are sitting on the market. The inventory is up, sales are down, and there are no more bidding wars. Yay. The average price has dropped over 20% since last year. I recall when we spoke last time that you said you weren't ready to buy yet, but if your situation were to change and you were ready, I would love to help you. Call and email, text anytime.
Perfect. That's a good email.
Yeah.
So clearly, you know what? She had talked to the person and she was basically using this to keep in touch. So I think this is a perfect email to put in any drip campaign. You're just going to modify it a little bit. So I looked at this, and then my revision for this one for Amanda, my subject line was, wow, what a market shift. I wanted to take a minute to see how you're enjoying your summer. This is my favorite time of year. As part of my service to you, I wanted to provide you with my latest experience on our shifting market. As you've seen, 6 months ago, there were bidding wars on pretty much everything. And now I'm seeing beautiful homes sit on the market. Why does this happen? When our inventory goes up, sales tend to drop. Buyers now have choice, so they take more time to see homes, and it typically ends bidding wars. The average price has dropped over 20% since last year. I recall when we spoke, you said you weren't ready to buy yet. Time is right for you. I will be here at blank.
Perfect.
I mean,
you cut out there for a minute, but no, it's good. You cut out for a bit at the end, but we're reading it.
Okay.
We're reading it. Yeah. No, but it's good. It's good because it's a little bit more personal. You're kind of checking in. How are they doing? You know, kind of putting something about yourself in there.
Yep.
And then giving them that little bit of education on why this is happening, but not going into full detail about it.
Right.
So you're giving them a piece of, you know, what's about to happen in here. And I'm just wondering, I'm like, inventory sales drop, buyers. Yeah, so I know that, and I don't know what your thoughts are about, because a lot of the people, and it depends, I guess, when we last spoke to this, you know, people, I know a lot of us have leads in our dashboard that you spoke to, and they weren't buying in the market when you spoke to them because everything was going into bidding wars, right? Yeah. So yeah. I'm not sure if that's something where you kind of, you know, ask them a question, you know, hey, has your situation changed? Because now is a great time to consider buying if you're waiting on this market shift.
Yeah.
Right.
You definitely throw that in there. And because we're going to be putting this in our collaborative drip, I would also take out, you know, the last time we talked, you know, I recall when we spoke, you said you weren't ready to buy yet. Those are the little bits and pieces that when we're putting it on a drip, we're going to take out. So maybe that sentence could now be, you know, do you want to start looking at homes? Or are you ready to start looking at homes? Be fairly direct. I wouldn't say, have you bought a home already? I always want to stay on the positive and assume they haven't. Yes. So I think I would change that line to, are you ready to start looking? Or are you ready to start your home search? Yeah. And that's a little more generic, because this, again, would be great. And then this is where you can have campaigns for people that are new to your system, and campaigns for people that you've spoken to already, right? So there's all different. You can really, you know, recycle a lot of these emails, and it's just, as Tara's saying, it's just we adjust some of the sentencing to accommodate the scenario. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, very exciting. Let's go. Right. Bring on more. All right. We got this. That was the one that was duplicated. All right. So we have Tracy's email. So I don't think we had a subject on this one.
I'm sure you'll get a bunch of emails on similar topics. So this one here, she was kind of putting in, Tracy's trying to build an email campaign that's a little bit different about utilities and things like that. So that's what it is. So the content of, I'm not sure, a bunch of email. I'm not sure if this is part of it. So I'll just read all of it. I'm sure you'll get a bunch of emails and similar topics, but I'm working on for an upcoming plan is based on home utilities. Many Valley cost-saving measures are available and nothing better than a home insurance plan or maintenance plan offered by Enercare or the like. We had a new hot water tank installed 6 weeks ago. No issues with the last one, except it had passed its expiry date. Did you know they have a date on them? Your homeowner's insurance may not cover any losses if your tank is out of date. So when I went to bed, hot water, the next morning, it was cold. Of course, it was the weekend and therefore service was a premium. After 12 hours, the tech arrived and it was a simple fix. The pilot light automatically extinguishes if there's an issue with the thermocoupler. His explanation, I'm not an HVAC specialist. It took about 25 minutes to fix, run tests, and make sure all was good. That would have cost $203 had we not had a plan. It's $170 to ring the doorbell, by the way. Plus, as they point out, most repairs are in the $400 to $500 plus range and rarely happen when it's convenient. So essentially, check your systems, fall furnace, spring AC, hot water tank anytime, and get a plan or start an appliance repair account in your budget so that, I don't know, that the shower is cold happens, you're prepared.
Right. So, okay, clearly, I really like the content of this because what Tracy has done is she's brought reality. You know how I've said in previous ones where you want to show them that you're human, you know, you're not just that typical salesperson, but she's bringing the real into realtor. Right. So I understand what she's doing, just very, very long. And I don't believe a lot will read the entire email. So I really liked this. So what I did was I thought about it for a long time. I spent a long time revising these. So it wasn't, you know, just so y'all know, I didn't do this in 5 minutes. This took me a little bit of time. But my subject line was hot water at night, cold in the morning. Has this happened to you? Yeah. I wanted the people to open this email because her concept, I think, is absolutely fabulous. So then I just said, you know, hey, so-and-so, I'm sure you get a bunch of emails, but I wanted to share my experience with you on my recent hot water tank. I'm sorry I said experience twice. Maybe we change experience to episode.
Okay. Yeah, it probably is an episode.
Episode. Sorry, guys. What happened? Okay, we had a new hot water tank installed 6 weeks ago. Our previous one was great, but it was past its expiry date. Did you know they had a date on them? We went to bed with hot water and woke up the next morning to only having cold water. Of course, this had to happen on the weekend when service charges are at a premium. Thankfully, it was a simple fix. Here's the interesting fact with what happened to us. Had we not have had an insurance plan with our local gas company, this would have cost us well over $200 for the repair. Another interesting fact, if your hot water tank is out of date, some insurance policies won't cover the repair cost. Please check your systems in your home, your furnace, air conditioning, hot water. And if you don't have an insurance program with your local gas company, we recommend you check into it. Thank you once again for continuing to look at listings on our new listings on our site daily. If you see anything that piques your interest, never hesitate to reach out. Simply reply to this email or send a text. Right? So do you understand what I'm doing? I wanted to point out a couple of the really important things that Tracy had mentioned, but bring it back as a source of information and then a thank you for continuing to be on the site.
Perfecto. Yeah, it's gonna go in because again, I've had that happen. You know, luckily we
Relatable.
knew a guy and he's just like, oh, it's this thing or whatever.
Yep.
And it could have been the coupler, but I think he was a friend of ours. So he didn't charge us that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just all of a sudden doesn't work. I've had it with my AC. Luckily, it was just because it was being overworked. Turned it off for a couple of days, turned on. But yeah, it's those things where you're looking, those large ticket items. You're like, oh man, how much is a new hot water tank going to cost us? Or how much is a new AC unit going to cost us? Right. So if you have insurance and depending on those costs, it's definitely for many, it makes sense because it doesn't matter when it breaks, whether it's on a weekend, a holiday, or whatever. If you have that insurance, there's usually companies that are aligning that will come out and service them without that premium. Right? You just know it's going to get fixed.
So basically, Tracy's email became a really good, interesting email to send to people. And we just sort of condensed it where it's just the most important things, but we're showing the lead that, she's a very real realtor with normal life experiences that we're sharing to kind of help people stay in the know into what's really important when you're investing in a home. Right. And doing these insurance programs are really good, especially if you're buying an older home. So I think that one turned out really good. I was excited about that.
Perfect. So this is one that I just kind of threw in there. I just kind of threw it in, just wrote it out. Something simple and like everything okay. Right. So, and this is more or less was kind of geared towards just making sure everything's fine with their home search and that they don't need anything from us at this point. Right. So, and then welcome to your edit suggestions by all means. So I just wanted to pop into your inbox to make sure everything is still good on your end. It's been a little while since you first started browsing listings, and it's not uncommon for changes in plans or budgets to occur. Is there anything I could be doing to assist you at this time? Adjustments to your criteria or gathering of any information or resources for you. I'm here to help with your make your moving process as simple as possible. So please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions, big or small. Something, again, it was just something simple to just kind of, hopefully get them to open it. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
With that subject line, but then kind of letting them know that we're still here and it's not uncommon that things change or questions arise and that we're here to help. And what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that one there?
You sent me this, full disclosure. You sent it to me ahead of time.
Yeah.
And if you notice, there are no revisions. I replied back to you and I'm like, Crystal, I love this email. I love it for two things. The subject line is everything. I like the fact is everything okay? I think that's really catchy. And remember, I always put myself in the lead shoes. Would I open this if this came to me or would I not? And I would. It is very short. It is to the point with that, what I like to call warm and fuzzy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's direct, but it's not so direct that I'm like, well, what do you know what I mean? Okay, you just ticked me off. I think you're definitely trying to say whatever you need, please feel free to reach out. Right? So if I were a person, I would, if I needed my search revised, I would answer this and say, hey, Crystal, thanks for the email. I really am only looking in Victoria. You know what I mean?
Well, exactly. Or
short and sweet. Yeah.
Again, they might have changed or what they're looking for price points, it's non-common and maybe sometimes they may not even been opening the emails lately either, the listing emails, right? And
sure,
things have totally changed. So
yeah.
Now this is, you gave me your email. This one here was one.
Yeah. That's my date. That's my first email in my drip campaign.
Okay.
That I send out. So we've been using that one fairly regularly on our webinars together. So that's super easy. It's almost the same thing. I wanted to take a minute once again to thank you for taking the time to look at listings on my site. How are you enjoying them? Have you seen anything of interest? There are more listings hitting MLS each day. As more inventory comes on the market, buyers will have more to choose from. I'm happy to answer any real estate questions you may have. Feel free to call or email anytime. I'm also happy to provide you with a monthly newsletter. Simply reply to this email and I'll send it out to you. I get a ton of people replying to that. A ton. Say, yep, send me the email. And just so you know, we send it anyways. We send it out anyways at the middle of the month.
We don't care what you actually say. You're getting it anyway. But it's nice to get a response.
I'm not going to be a little our pants on fire. But many people say, yeah, I would love it, Tara. So again, all I'm looking for is for them just to reply back so that I can start the conversation with them.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We just want responses, right? To start something.
Yep. So this is my, Austin, how long? Okay. Sorry, Austin's asking a question here.
So how long do you think is the too long point for an email, in your opinion?
I think, if you've got 6 or 7 paragraphs, I'd like it to stay 5 and under. My perfect email is 3 paragraphs. That's my perfect. But this one you're going to see is a little bit longer because this is brand new. So as of last week, I've actually revised my drip campaign again because of the scenario with the recent increases in the rate every couple of months, that I always go with the feedback that I'm getting from the replies of my drip campaign. And then I kind of want to create a new email. So, listen, if you can keep an email 3 paragraphs or less, that's the perfect email. Absolute perfect. So this one is brand new. Again, everybody that's been on my program has now received the revised strip as of last week. Again, I wanted to address this common factor on, is the market going to crash? Prices are dropping repeatedly. People have not been able to stay in their mortgage pre-approvals because of the rate increase. And from the inside, because I'm the manager as well here, I want to go on the record again and saying so many homes not closing on closing day. Right? Because some lenders, when the interest rate is raised again, some lenders just before closing are now pulling their commitments. So the subject line, is it possible the market will crash again? I really wanted to address it head on. It's certainly a strange time in real estate, isn't it? It never ceases to amaze me that the real estate market can go from one extreme to another. After all my 28 years plus in real estate, you'd think I would be used to these shifts. This one seems different. During COVID, the Bank of Canada rate went so low, and then I gave them, that 1.59 to now scheduled increases, with another one hitting again shortly. Prices of homes have consistently been decreasing. CREA just reported another 5% drop of house prices in July. And I wanted to reach out to you to see if you have any questions about the market. What are your biggest concerns as a buyer and as a homeowner in these changing times? As a seasoned realtor, I'm here to help you in any way that I can. I work with the best preferred partners in the business, and together we can answer all of your concerns that you may have. Again, you guys can see I always end my emails the same way. Simply reply to this email or text me if that's easier I'm always available to help. So that's why I created this. So what we did is we sent it out as a mass email to the thousands of people that I have, whether or not they're currently on the drip campaign or not. I have had numerous replies already. Thank you for this, Tara. This helps me understand a little more. Like I'm telling you, my phone is going off. And now we've placed it in my revised drip as a regular part of the drip campaign going out further ahead.
No, I think it's good. Yeah, I feel like this is
So
again.
Any questions on that?
I like this one, as you said, as a mass email. Having it again for a lot of us who do, like, I know your hands are always in your campaigns. A lot of people, their hands aren't always going to be in their campaigns. And it's remembering to modify or take this email out when necessary, right? And I feel like a lot of people might forget to, right? But not necessarily.
Here's what we're teaching them. We're teaching them here, Crystal, that they have to be hands-on. This is a pillar of business. So and listen, this is going to be for a while. So this email is okay to stay in the drip campaign, probably for another at least 5 or 6 months. Because I'm not really sure. We don't know what's going to happen if prices are still going to decrease. But it is really simple once we get to September or October to change the line, because CREA does give us stats, right? So definitely anything that is pertaining to local conditions, just make a note of it for yourself. In 30 days, look and see, and then make that quick revision.
Yeah. Or exactly. Or even just create a calendar reminder for yourself, like every month or every 3 weeks, do I need to adjust campaign revisions, whatever it is, right?
Which is what I do. Which is exactly what I do. That's how I operate. I always want my drip campaign to be as current as possible. And it usually is just a matter of making changes to a couple of the emails. Sometimes I'll pull one right out and I'll keep it. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we have some questions here? All right.
Okay.
Katrina says, well done. This is perfect, simple, but to the point. I do agree with that.
Katrina.
And then let me just see. I'm going to get to your subject in just a moment. I'm going to go Ava. I really like this. Is it possible the market will crash again? Email template timely would address a lot of people's concerns. Love that together we can answer all your questions line, because it supports the idea we have many industry experts behind us that assist in providing great service.
Thank you. Always remember that remember Ariba 2002? We're not here to give them advice when we're not that mortgage broker ourselves, right? We always have to refer it out. So you'll see most of the emails in my drip campaign really do talk about the fact that I work with preferred partners, right? I want to push it over.
Oh yeah. Someone, yeah. Now, outside of this here, because again, this one here again with, and it's related to, I suppose, this email. Sarjeet is asking, how to address this to sellers in this shifted market. The sellers seems to be super anxious about the loss of equity and flow in this new interest pricing per month.
Yeah. So, what we tried to do here was we had, as you can see, other agents come in and send us emails. So what I would ask, if it's at all possible, is why don't you put an email together with some of your biggest things that you're seeing your sellers say, submit it to Crystal, and let's do a revision on it. Because 1,000,000%, this is a brand new collaborative drip campaign that we're doing together. 1,000,000%, we need something for sellers. So I love what you're saying. If you can throw it in an email, put your thoughts together, and then what we'll do is we'll revise it, and now we'll have a seller email for this drip. Do you agree, Crystal?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And realistically, you can even take this email and shift the wording around to be more focused on a seller.
Sure. This could be your template. And instead of, the market, you might even be, I don't know if I would use for a seller, the market crash. So when I'm creating my drip campaign for a seller, so in my actual buyer drip campaign, I have a seller email because most of these ones, even though they're buyer leads, they have houses to sell, and I do list their properties. So, what I want is, I don't want to be doom and gloom in my subject line, because I want them to list, right? I'm still a commission salesperson. So I would word that subject line differently I would not use that one. But I certainly would put, here's the concerns of the sellers very briefly. And then maybe that seller guide that we talked about creating, maybe that seller guide has more specific points on, if you're losing equity, some things to actually think about or stay on top of.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think like that. So again, you guys, you all have that, like I'm going to put my email in the chat again, because we did get some responses the last session. And thank you for those that did submit something over, because it gives us all something to kind of learn from, right? So now you've kind of seen how people start out and then how things are being edited, right? So it might help you in creating your first draft anyway, because now you're like, hey, no, I need to simplify this, or how could I word this differently? But the more emails we get, whether they're buyer or seller emails, or kind of targeted towards the seller, because we don't know in many cases, are we working with a first-time buyer, or do they have a house to sell? So questions that might arise from a seller standpoint in here. But again, more, and it could even just be more checking in type emails, right? It doesn't always have to be something very specific. It could just be like, hey, just like, again, is everything okay? Right?
Yeah.
In there. But I think this is a great start to everything. We've got all, got these emails.
Yeah.
We get more submissions, we get more, and then we can kind of piece together the campaign and kind of put them in the order that, would be the flow, right? We're looking for that flow of the emails as to how they're going to be received by that lead.
And what I can do, if everybody's going to come back in a week and a half, or 2 weeks, I guess, is I can take our drip campaign and I can now put it in a way that I would, which one would be my first email, which one would be my second. Because what we have now is we've got amazing, like I'm super excited about what the content that we have. I really think that good. And then what you want to do, guys, is now in between, you want to add some of your SMS touches.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe what I can do is kind of work on this particular drip, expand it as something that I would use if it was me. And then in 2 weeks, we can now present to you a fairly full drip that you guys could use. Yeah.
And I think everyone would appreciate that. And I think as well, if we can get some more in, then that'll help us as well. Because if we're looking at those submissions prior to Tara trying to kind of put her flow into, then we can also take those additional emails into consideration as well when doing that.
I would love that.
Guys.
Yeah, I would love that. I think that would be phenomenal. And thank you so much for what you guys gave me, because it was really easy to revise these things, because it was really, the content is great. We're the ones that are out in the field. We know what people are asking us, and a really great drip campaign basically answers all the questions to a certain degree before they have to ask us. Right. So we want to have our drip campaign cover most everything that we can think of without giving them all the information. So always think of it that way too. Just tease a little bit, because we want them to reply.
You're giving them a little bit, but not everything. Enough that it spikes a little bit of interest, and maybe ask for more. Maybe ask for a little bit more, right?
Yeah, really good. Very exciting. Yeah, I was so happy.
Yeah. So Lily is saying, I would love that. I'm so new to this. Are there any videos on how to start? On how to start what in particular, Lily? We're just looking at this point, we're building a campaign together, and then we can make it easy and I can make it easy and dump it into everyone's system, really, at the end of the day. But
we want them to do it.
Yeah, we want them to do it. Actually, you're correct.
To do it. If
we can go through that. So maybe once we do have it part of our session, we can kind of jump into an aspect of, how you're now going to build this campaign, right? So it'll be focusing on, working in the editor, not the editor, but the campaigns, the email templates. This is how you're going to do it. It's not overly complicated. And once you do it once, you'll be good to go. You'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is good. And I guess, once we have finished the actual drip, so let's, before we close, we need more emails. So anybody that can send us different types of emails, please do it to Crystal. Or you guys can also send it to me. Some of you that are on here know me and you've got my email. And then I'll make a final drip per se. And then I think with everybody's permission, I don't know if you need their permission, that now can this be a drip that can be shared that everybody is using?
Exactly. And then perhaps what we can do with that is the emails that we do have submitted, I will gain confirmation from them that they're okay with those emails being used.
Okay.
Right here.
Yeah.
So
And I just think that's fabulous. I really do. Really excited. Yeah. Perfect. And I've got a session coming up on the 23rd with Addo.
Yeah. So we're doing that one, the market shift. I was going to talk to you because we're having some questions about it, just with respect to the interest rates kind of halting. But I still think that there's a shift, and I feel that there's still a lot of worthy things to be talking about with us switching into a different market, regardless of interest rates.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think the important thing right now, and I'm really looking forward to being on the panel with Addo, and I think you guys are going to start probably advertising it in the next little bit, is understanding, because we all want results sooner than later with our leads. We're all at fault for it. None of us are patient. I'm probably the least patient person in the world. But, with this market shift that we're all experiencing really across Canada is, we can't just assume that these leads are no good. We can't assume, I'm wasting my time. We need to, follow up with these people, have the right drip campaigns to continue our name going in their inbox, because it is going to continue to be a confusing time for anybody thinking of buying or selling right now. And that's not going to go away overnight. So, I think that sharing these experiences and doing these webinars really help us all to understand that, again, every lead has their own time, and we just have to show them that we are the realtor they want to use, because it is such a difficult time out there right now.
It is. Well, and there's a lot of opportunity to those as well, right? So it's learning how to take a grasp on the opportunity.
Yeah.
Again, it's all those people that were sitting on the sidelines. Now might be the time, and it's our job to educate them and guide them and try to get them off the sidelines.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Right? And why?
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody, for.
Yes.
It was great. Look at all this feedback. It was great. Anybody have any questions before we sign off? Are we good?
I think we're good, but get some email submissions. We need some more.
Yeah. Perfect. We will. We'll get them.
I know. We will.
We got 4 messages coming in. Looks like.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, thanks. Oh, you're more than welcome, guys. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Awesome. Well, thanks you all for jumping in and helping us help you. And we'll see y'all in a couple weeks again.
Awesome. All right. Have a good weekend, Crystal. Okay.
You as well. Thank you.
I'm living my life through you, camping.
Okay. Well, try not to work too hard.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right.
All right. Bye.